Our last session of the day is called Caring for Ourselves in Times of Change. I think we would all agree that this past year has been incredibly difficult, and caregivers and cooperative staff in particular have really been pushed to new limits, facing really incredible challenges. So today we want to recognize and honor those traumas truly and make space to reflect and heal. So with that, I'm excited to introduce our next speaker, Amadeo Cruz Giao, who's a facilitator, organizational healer and consultant, and also principal of Luna's Consulting. Amadeo is a transformational consultant and visionary healer with over 20 years of experience supporting progressive organizations and leaders to effect transformative social change, which I think we're all trying to do here. Amadeo co-founded and directed for many years a groundbreaking healing justice organization called Zenu Healing that centered the holistic well-being and leadership development of queer, trans, Black, Indigenous, and people of color. Amadeo has an MBA in nonprofit management and an MA in sustainable international development from Brandeis University. And we're just so happy that you're here and going to do this work with us today. So thank you so much. I'm going to turn it over and hopefully everyone can stay a little bit later since we're getting started later. Apologize for that, but thank you and look forward to this next session.
Welcome everyone. Hello. Magandang umaga sa iyong lahat. Good morning from the West Coast. I'm in Seattle, and magandang hapon to everyone elsewhere where it's afternoon. Thank you so much for having me. So I'm going to do a little bit more of an introduction of how I came here and why this is so important to me. But before we do that, I'm going to invite you to ground with me. So what we're going to do is take some deep breaths. So let's inhale and feel the oxygen and the breath rising in our lungs, and exhale. And we're going to do a lot of hacking of the body today to bring relaxation. So what we're going to do right now is make our exhalation a little bit longer than our inhalation. And that's going to trigger our vagus nerve, which is the reason why we have a mind-body connection. And it immediately when that nerve is triggered, will activate the parasympathetic nervous system, the rest and repair response of our bodies. So I'll lead us through and on different counts of inhalation and exhalation. So let's inhale 2, 3, 4, and exhale 2, 3, 4, 5. Inhale 2, 3, 4, and exhale 2, 3, 4, 5. And welcoming ourselves back into the great grace of our bodies. And now we're going to do another technique. This somatic technique. And again, it's hacking the body. So what we're going to do very gently and slowly, and only to the point where it's comfortable, okay, we're going to feel our heads at the top of our spine, and we're going to imagine as if there's an invisible cord pulling our heads up. I'm just going to keep our heads forward. And now we're going to gently turn our heads slowly to the side. And we're going to also, if we can, put a little bit of twist in our hips. And this is triggering that vagus nerve and helping us to relax a little bit more and letting our head rest here to the side and breathing, continuing to breathe deeply. And then we'll slowly bring our heads to the center, gently, again, always not trying to hurt ourselves. And then we're going to move our heads to the other side. And again, trying to put a little bit of a twist in our hips. And with our heads resting comfortably wherever we can on this side, I'm going to invite you to look for the windows and the doors in your space. So our bodies are so brilliant. Okay, they're always looking out for our survival. And so unconsciously behind everything that we're doing, our bodies are looking to survive, right? So we can help to relax our bodies by looking for example, the things that it's always looking for, escape routes. So when we intentionally look, okay, there's the window, there's the door, that's automatically helping our bodies to relax. Okay, and then coming back slowly to center our heads. All right, welcome everybody. all of you and all of your beautiful stories and spirits. It's such an honor to be here. I want to thank Katrina for inviting me, and for all the folks who are helping with the tech and the organization of this wonderful conference. So before we get started, I want to introduce myself just a little bit more. Again, my name is Amadeo Cruz Giao. I am queer and non-binary, so I dance between the male and the female, and I use all pronouns. And I'm the proud child of 2 immigrants from the Philippines. And I grew up in Seattle, where I now am, and I have deep roots in the Philippines, where I have lived and worked for many years. So I can't explain to you what a great honor it is for me to be here with you all today. Being here is so meaningful to me because I come from a family of caregivers and healers. And let me show you my inspiration. So this is my mom on the left, and me with a couple of my beloved aunties, just a small portion of my family who do similar work to all of you. So being here with you, I really feel like I am with family. So the work that I am sharing comes directly from that inspiration and from my own learnings of caring for myself, and in order to care for my communities and the organizations and the people that I love deeply. It all started 18 years ago when my mom, a dedicated nurse of 30 years, became very sick with metastatic breast cancer. I became her primary caretaker while juggling my busy organizing life and social justice work. And during that times, my eyes became really open to the intergenerational patterns of overcare and unaddressed trauma in my mother and in her family, specifically her 3 siblings and my grandfather, my Lolo Amadeo, who all got sick from chronic diseases and passed into spirit all before the age of 62. And they were all caregivers and healers in some capacity, who gave everything of themselves for their families, for their communities, and the ones who entrusted their own health to them. And that sacrifice took a great toll, not just on their health, but also on the quality of their lives, their relationships. And I started to see in caring for my mother, how I was rapidly going down that same path. And I promised myself, my mom and my family, that I would find a different way to be of service. Not only would I heal and care for others, but most importantly, I would heal and care for myself so that I could be of even greater service and more effectively care for others. So this is what I've dedicated my life to, learning and teaching this different way. As Katrina shared, I started an organization called Zanyu Healing, offering Black and Indigenous and people of color activists a chance to heal in community, in nature, and teaching them many of the regenerative tools that I'm going to be sharing today. So while that nonprofit is no longer in existence, I still continue my work speaking nationally and regionally on the intersections of healing and social justice. So these practices, while they may not every single one of them may resonate with you, that is totally makes sense. We all have different needs, different bodies. They are tried and true, and they have worked for the communities that I love and care for. Okay, so today we're really going to be focusing on ourselves. So in this hour and 15 minutes, we're going to be taking a look at how to do simple practices of how to care for ourselves and the incredible work that you all are doing. We're not going to be focusing so much on our cooperatives, on our organizations, but on us, all of that love and that care and that compassion that radiates so much from these stories. How do we give that to ourselves as well so that we can give from a full cup? So today we're going to spend some time, quite a bit of time actually, understanding the physiological effects of stress on our bodies. And we're going to be learning simple and powerful self-care tools that will help you to care for your health so that you can help care for others. And also at the end, we're going to develop some simple wellness goals. And I also hope that we feel by the end of this session that you feel a little bit more connected to yourself and a little bit more connected to each other. And also, I hope that we have a little bit of fun as well. So in order for us to move forward, I'm going to invite you to these community agreements. Again, they're just invitations. The first one is to participate fully according to your ability in every moment. That changes for everyone. So this is for you. So please take good care of yourselves. Take bio breaks as you need. Get water, get tea, stretch, whatever it is that you need. Take yourself off camera as you need, except when we are sharing. We're going to be doing just a couple of really short, small groups. I'm all about community building. So if you can at that time, put yourself on camera so we can share a little bit more. And I also want to say that we're going to be doing a lot of grounding into the body and a lot of slowing down. And again, the body is where our greatest genius lives, our intelligence, our intuition, our emotions. And it's also where our trauma lives. So there may be times when, we do one of the techniques and it starts to feel uncomfortable for you. You start to feel maybe overwhelming emotions or something like that. And if that happens, take a break. Don't do that. Only take care of yourself, right? Please stretch yourself to be willing to try new things, but stretch yourself not to the point of where you're traumatizing yourself and like panicking and shutting down, but only to the point where you're still learning, okay? And then next is just be willing to share your reflections. Again, we just have a little bit of time to share about what's going on with us, but it is important because we heal and we learn in community. But also, please don't share past your own comfort zone. And the last one is healing is really hard. So I'm just inviting you all to encourage yourself and each other. Many of the ways that we have internalized these habits is because of our culture, right? So all of these things will pop up, our resistances to taking care of ourselves, for example, when we start to examine and look at things in a different way. Okay, so I am going to stop talking for a second, and I'm going to give you all a little bit of a chance to share. And we're going to be breaking you up into small groups of 3 to 4. And I'm going to invite you to please turn on gallery view. So the little top right button, it says speaker and gallery, just put gallery. And if you can unmute yourself so that you're ready to go when you get into the groups, we don't have a ton of time. And then one person is going to volunteer to go, and then they're going to invite the next person for traffic control. Okay, and then the next person will invite the next person after that. And each person is just going to take less than a minute to share their name, also what cooperative you're from, if you're from a cooperative, and then share one word of how you're doing in this moment. And also share one thing that has helped you get through this last year. And you're going to have a total of about 5 minutes. I know that's not very long. And if you're done, then takes a little bit of time to get to know each other. And I'm putting that in the chat. And we're going to broadcast it too in both English and Spanish once we get you into the breakout rooms. Okay, so I'll see you in about 5 minutes. And if folks, if you put into their breakout rooms, that would be great. Thank you. Okay, looks like everyone is back. Welcome back, everyone. Hopefully you had a nice moment getting to know other folks in this space. So let's take a little bit of another break. I invite you, if you want to stretch a little bit. Move your hands up in whatever way feels good to you. Again, only your range of motion. Okay, great. And we're going to do another breathing technique. And this is called the triangle breath. And it's basically just, again, triggering the vagus nerve, holding the breath for an equal amount of time. Inhaling evenly for an amount of time, holding the breath without strain for the same amount, and then exhaling for the same amount. So I'll lead us through. So inhale, 2, 3, 4, and hold the breath, 2, 3, 4, and exhale, 2, 3, 4, and inhale, 2, 3, 4, hold the breath, 2, 3, 4, and exhale, 2, 3, 4, and wonderful. Thank you, everyone. I'm going to share right now as we go into this space, why it's important to be doing this. Okay, so what is self-care and self-healing? Just very quickly, this is just a recognition that contrary to what capitalism and white supremacy tells us, that we are not just our jobs. We are family members, we are community members, we're church members, etc. And we have to take care of ourselves on all of these levels, physically, emotionally, spiritually, etc. Self-care also recognizes the pre-colonial indigenous understanding of interdependence. So, which tells us that just as the health of our forests and our waterways is directly connected to the health of salmon, for example, similarly, the health of our cooperatives, the health of our families is completely dependent on the health of all of the individuals in those systems, which means that as we heal ourselves, as we take time to care for ourselves, we are also healing and caring for the people that we care for, our clients, for our families, our cooperatives, and every other system that we are a part of, okay? Also, all of the research shows that workplaces that have a good work-life balance, they produce better, they're more effective, right? Employees are found to be 12% more productive, and those workplaces outperform others by 20%, okay? And so I also want to say that we all have very different bodies, different needs, so our needs are diverse. So I want to, just really emphasize that self-care for me can look very different for what self-care might look like to you, and that is all welcome here. There's no right or wrong way to do self-care. It's whatever it is that helps you to be able to trigger the rest and repair responses of your body. Okay. So as we're talking about self-care, we only have time today to really just be talking about how to care for our personal energy system, and also managing our state of being and how we handle stress. Of course, there's other ways, of course, to deal with self-care at work, looking at the amount of work that we do, our personal effectiveness, etc. But this is all that we have time for, unfortunately. Okay, so the next tool that I'm going to teach is called the body scan. And so I want to preface this all by saying that our bodies are incredibly intelligent, okay? Again, it's where our greatest genius lives, our intuition, our emotions, our intelligence. And the new field of embodied cognition in cognitive science is revealing what our ancestors always knew, that intelligence is derived not solely from the brain, but from the vast multitude of ways in which our bodies are receiving and processing information from our environment, through our muscles, through our stomach, our heart, etc. And it's unveiling this incredibly vivid view of all parts of our body, not just the brain, as equally important in our cognitive intelligence. So this is what our ancestors knew, that there's no separation between the mind and the body. That's why we have sayings like trust your gut or listen to your heart, because in fact, Western scientists are finding out that we actually have significant concentrations of neurons, neurotransmitters, and proteins, the same ones that are found in our cranial brain that sense and feel and learn and remember. We have significant concentrations of them where? In our heart. Okay, we have a brain in our heart. We also have in our gut. It's known as the enteric nervous system. Okay, so again, our ancestors were right. So what we're going to do now is tune into that intelligence of the body, because it is the foundation of which we can learn how to heal and care for ourselves. So what we're going to do is I invite you, if you feel comfortable doing so, to close your eyes. And we're going to do a body scan. We're just going to be checking in essentially from the senses and the sensations of our body, from the top of our heads down into our feet, and just checking in, seeing if there's anything that is coming to us of what we need, our desires, etc. Okay, so I invite you to close your eyes. And again, we'll do another breathing technique. We'll do the triangle breath again to practice. So inhale, 2, 3, 4, and hold the breath. 2, 3, 4, and exhale. 2, 3, 4. Inhale, 2, 3, 4, and hold the breath. 2, 3, 4, and exhale. 2, 3, 4. Wonderful. And just bringing your attention inward, again, with your eyes open or closed. I invite you to bring your attention to the top of your head. And feeling, if you have hair, feeling and trying to see if you can feel your hair. Your hair is alive and full of memory. So try to feel where your hair is in time and space. And if at any point in time while we're doing this, if your mind begins to wander, you can just gently bring your attention back to your breath, gently and without judgment. And then bringing your attention to your forehead, noticing any senses and sensations as we're bringing our attention inward. Bringing our attention to your cheeks. Maybe noticing that you are a little bit sore in your cheeks from laughing or talking. And again, just noticing without judgment, just checking in. How does it feel to be in your body? Starting to awaken the intelligence of the body that we so often neglect. And bringing our attention to our ears, trying to find our ears in time and space. And then bringing our attention to our necks. And if at any point you feel like stretching or doing anything, please feel free to do so. This is your body talking to you, so listen. And then bringing your attention now down into your shoulders where so many of us hold tension and stress. And breathe, letting our breath bring spaciousness to these areas, bring love and compassion. The same way that you give to others, we can give to ourselves. And then bringing our attention to our upper arms, our lower arms into our hands that create and build and carry and tend with such love so many others. We can bring that love for ourselves. And then bringing our attention to our heart and our lungs. And noticing if there's anything coming up. Noticing if your body is asking you for something. And just noticing and bringing your attention to your belly. And down into your hips. Down into your upper legs, your knees, your lower legs, and down into your feet. And giving thanks for this body. And still with your eyes closed, just notice what you're feeling. I'm going to walk us through just 2 short scenarios. And we're going to just notice as you're imagining being in these scenarios, notice what's happening in your body, okay? And please don't pick the most traumatic things. We're just, again, mildly uncomfortable, but not super traumatic, okay? So I'm going to invite you to visualize that you are running late for an appointment, something that's important to you. And maybe you're on the street and you've missed the last bus. So what does it feel like in your body as you're running late? And again, just noticing, what is your breath doing? What is your heart doing? Maybe your hands sweating a little bit. Just notice. Okay. And then we'll take a deep cleansing breath, inhaling and exhaling that out. You are no longer running late. You're back here. Inhaling again and exhaling. And now I'm going to invite you to imagine that you are in the presence of somebody that you deeply love. You love them unconditionally. It could be a person, or it could be a plant or a dog or an animal, but be in their presence and notice, how is it feeling in your body? What is your heart doing? Your breathing. And we'll just take a few moments to enjoy this sensation. When you feel ready, I invite you to open your eyes. Just take a deep breath. Good job, everyone. Thank you. I'm going to invite now just a couple of short reflections in the chat. What did it feel like in your body when you were stressed? Okay, and if you could write it in the chat so we can take a look. What did you notice about yourself? What did you notice was going on? Tight in my back, yes. Thank you. Faster heartbeat, right? Tense, yeah. Shoulders lifted up, yes, we often do this, right? So remember, when we're noticing, we can relax. Jaw clenched, yes. Anxious, apretada, yes. Felt my feet tingle, tightness in jaws, yeah. So noticing, right? What happens when we feel stressed in the body? Liberación. Okay, interesting. Thank you. Stop breathing, yeah. And now I would love to hear, what was it like when you were in the presence of somebody that you loved? What did you notice? And you can write that in the chat too. Softened up, relaxed, lightness, warmth, open, slower breathing, felt safe, warmth. Yes, shoulders softened, loved. Oh, I'm sorry, Kate. Yes, couldn't access anxious. That totally makes sense too. This is all just a practice, right? So this, of course, just because you weren't able to access, there's nothing wrong with you at all. Sometimes it takes a lot more time. More present, alegría, yes, peace. Yes, thank you all for sharing. So I hope that in this short experiment that we just did, that you were able to see just how much information is in our bodies when we pay attention, okay? Because paying attention is the first part of healing ourselves and caring for ourselves, okay? So our bodies, so doing this body scan, it didn't take very long, right? It took maybe a minute, right? If you do put it in the breathing technique. And if you could do this even once a day, like, ideally at least once an hour, but at least once a day, where you're just checking in, what is it that I need in this moment? Because our bodies are always telling us, maybe we need to drink a little bit more water. Maybe we need to take a breath. Maybe we're feeling sad and we need to call a friend, right? Because the most serious illnesses and diseases, they start with small sensations that our bodies are trying to tell us, right? They're trying to get our attention. So this is something very easy that you can do throughout the day to check in with yourself. Okay, so let's talk about the nervous system and what was happening when we did that exercise. So this shows us what a healthy nervous system looks like. Okay, the response that we see here, represented by the top of the hump, is our sympathetic nervous system. This is our fight or flight or freeze response. It's our body's response to what it understands as short-term danger. That has been so critical for our survival. And it has allowed animals, because we are animals like us, to respond quickly to danger signs. So when we are startled or acutely stressed, then the fear center of the brain, which we'll see in a second, the amygdala, activates and rapidly increases cortisol and adrenaline and glucose levels in our body. So it speeds up our heart rate, which we just saw earlier, right? It makes us really tense and increases blood flow to the muscles in our arms and in our legs. Our bodies are literally getting ready to either get into a fight or to run, right? For any stress that we have, right? And so after this trigger has passed, or we've done one of the practices that I'm showing you, or any of the things that work really well for you all, then our bodies go into the parasympathetic nervous system, the rest and repair response that is so critical to heal our bodies, okay? However, when stress becomes chronic, like it is for so many of us, right? And especially for our most marginalized communities, our systems can be amped up all the time. It can be very, very difficult due to what we are dealing with to come down from the sympathetic nervous system. So the same hormones that were so important in saving our lives, right, and our ancestors' lives, they then overload the body. and leads to the poor health outcomes that we see are so rampant in our communities. So we hear this word resilience all the time. And resilience is this ability to bounce back, to go up and down between the sympathetic and the parasympathetic nervous system. It talks about our ability that we can teach ourselves to create moments of rest throughout the day so that our bodies can get the necessary healing that they so desperately need. Okay, so that was your nervous system on stress. This is your brain on stress. So just really quickly, this is what happens when we're feeling stressed out. Again, this is the amygdala, the oldest part of the brain known as the reptilian brain, which completely takes over, okay? It shuts down the prefrontal cortex, the newest part of our brain that is responsible for complex decision-making, for moral reasoning, the ability to plan, etc. Everything that we actually value about rational thinking, that shuts down completely, okay? Because again, our bodies are genius, right? And all we are left with though is our animal brain that cannot see beyond the binary. It literally can't see beyond me versus you or us versus them, because again, it's ready to fight, right? Or to run for it. And so what happens when we are stressed is that we lose emotional and mental clarity, and it becomes extremely difficult, if not physiologically impossible, to be at our best, because so much of our body and our brain has shut down. Okay, so this is just a picture of what happens. So we become essentially like the Hulk, right? Like the Hulk, when he gets mad, you can't stop him, right? He like goes on a rampage. That's to some extent like what happens to us when we are stressed out and extremely stressed out. And we become, come from, Mother Teresa, who's very thoughtful, loving, and turn into the Hulk. So, okay. So this is now how stress is manifested as disease in our bodies. Okay, because as we know, so many BIPOC communities have a higher vulnerability to COVID, right? And a lot of it is because of the way that stress has impacted their immunity, our immunity, right? So that's one of many impacts of stress on the body. It leads also to adrenal fatigue, insomnia, mental health issues like depression, anxiety, and memory and concentration impairment. Okay. So I know this is all stressful to be hearing about. And so that's why I try to punctuate this work with the tools. So the things that we have been doing throughout is breath work. Breath work is so incredibly helpful when we're trying to address stress in the moment, because the breath and the mind and the heart are all inextricably related, which we just saw earlier, right? We changed our thoughts, what we were thinking, and automatically we had a physiological response, right? Because when you change one, then you change the others. So again, the easiest way to bring that sympathetic nervous system into activation is breathing, taking deep breaths, right? So we've done the longer exhalation. We've also done the triangle breath. But one thing that's really simple that if you don't remember any of those things, you walk away from this, is 1 minute of deep breathing can clear the body, the bloodstream of cortisol, right? Of that stress hormone, which is incredible. It only takes 1 minute. So if you're finding yourself starting to have this anxiety, practice, just take a moment, take just a little bit of a break and breathe deeply. And it will trigger your parasympathetic nervous system, because physiologically, just like it's impossible to think clearly when you are stressed, it's also impossible to not rest when you're breathing deeply, okay? So the more, we're just trying to bring more awareness into every moment so that we can have more choice and more power in whatever that we are doing. Okay. So the next, a few more things that I want to talk about is how stress works. So stress is recognized by the American Medical Association as the #1 proxy killer disease today, noting that 60 to 80% of all diseases are caused by stress. And that the human body is not able to discriminate between a big stress or a little one. So regardless of the significance, stress affects the body in the same predictable ways. It causes a cascade of 14 biochemical processes. So for example, if you're thinking about somebody close to you who's really sick, that's really significant, right? Or you're thinking about running late for an appointment, it's a less significant stress, but it's having the same exact impact on the body, the immediate impact, okay? Your body literally cannot tell the difference because it's treating both of those situations as if your life is on the line, okay? So that's why it's so important when we are noticing that we are starting to, our heartbeat's starting to race, our breath is starting to become shallow, that we take a moment in addressing it in that moment, to take a moment to rest and to relax. Okay, and it also doesn't matter if it's happening in your mind. As we saw earlier, again, you had a stress response just from thinking about something. So it's so important to be really conscious as much as we can of the things that we are thinking, keeping mental health in a good way. So also, we may be physiologically experiencing stress, but because so many of us are accustomed to how that feels, we think that it's normal. So for example, I've given this workshop to hundreds of people in this past year. And during one of the workshops, I remember we did the body scan earlier. And afterwards, she said, you know, I didn't realize that I was gripping my hand until we took a moment to just check in with ourselves. I've been gripping like this, I don't even know how long, right? So that's why, again, we can become numb to stress, and we have to be really bringing as much awareness as we can. The next thing that we should know is that binge and purge solutions don't work. And so what I mean by that is that before I knew this, I would tell myself, okay, I'm going to get through this really stressful week, or I'm going to get through this stressful day and I'm going to take a bath, or I'm going to cook a nice meal for myself and I'm going to relax. At that point, it's already too late, okay? Because again, stress has an immediate physiological response. So yes, of course, it's good to wait and take care of ourselves later, but that's why it's so important to address stress as it's happening. Okay, so that's all for the stress related information. The last tool that I want to share with you is called micro breaks. And this is a really amazing and heavily researched tool for caring for ourselves. And what micro breaks are essentially is what they sound like. They're breaks of 20 seconds to 2 minutes taken every 15 to 20 minutes. And all it requires is that you just take a little bit of a break. It would be optimal if you do something like stretching, or you could also just go grab a cup of tea or walk, you know, maybe walk around a client's house a little bit, move around. But it recognizes that our attention span is only 14 minutes, because excessive focus, when our brains are like super intent on a task, actually drains our energy. That's why I'm sure many of you have felt extremely tired, like so many of us, right, in this past year. Because our brains are actually like toddlers. They need to be flipping between rest and stimulation in order to be healthy and energized, just like because obviously our brain is part of our nervous system. The up and down, we need that for our brain as well. So there's been many studies on this, but in 2013, there was a study done in Canada with surgeons. They were asked every 20 minutes to take a break of 20 seconds. That's it, 20 seconds, take a break away from their workstation, every 20 minutes to stretch. And what they found after 2 weeks is that they were 7 times more accurate in their drawings, right? So essentially they were 7 times more accurate in cutting people open, right? If more effective in their work. They also reported half of the physical fatigue that they usually felt, prior to doing micro breaks and felt a lot less pain in their shoulders, neck, and backs, right? So again, this is incredibly potent and powerful. And out of all of the tools that I usually share, everyone comes back to me and says, I do the micro breaks and it's literally changed my life. So I know that you are all incredibly busy, and also 20 seconds, it's not too long, right? Every maybe 20 minutes, even every hour, that you can sneak away and just do a little bit of stretching, right? Or you can get some tea or do something that will just shift your, give your brain a break, essentially. Okay. Okay. So I'm sorry that I had to go so quickly through this. I know that we're running late, and usually all of this information I do in a 2-hour session. So I apologize. I will be sending this information to the team so that you can have it with you. But just to review, these are tools for addressing stress in the moment. Micro breaks, again, incredibly powerful. Doing the body scan to check in with your needs. Breathing techniques, right? And then also somatic tools, doing the orientation really quickly at any point during the day as well, checking for the doors and the windows helps to relax the animal body and helps it to feel safe, okay? And then also things like humming or singing trigger the vagus nerve as well, because it's changing the way that we breathe. And also, most importantly, that I like to think about, because my spiritual path is so important to me, is praying. Okay, so what researchers have found is that when people pray repetitively, for example, praying a Catholic rosary or doing mantras, right, that what happens is that our breath changes to 6 breaths per minute. And that's the magic number for triggering the vagus nerve. That's why when people pray, not only do they feel obviously more spiritually connected, but they also feel more physically relaxed because they're changing themselves physiologically. Okay. Okay, so let's take a moment, and I'm going to invite you to think of an area in your life where you would like to create change in caring for yourself. And ideally, if you have a pen and paper and that you can take a couple of minutes to just reflect on these questions, that would be great. You could also write it on your computer or your your phone even. But we're going to just take a moment. I'm going to put on a little bit of music and think of an area in your life where you would like to create change in caring for yourself. So some prompts that you could use is, making this shift will make me feel ... Or making this shift will impact my life by ... Habits that I have kept my situation the same include, and big and small things that I can do to work towards this shift include. Okay, so take out a pen and paper if you have one close by. You can obviously also think about it as well, but it's always nice to take a moment to reflect. So let me put on some music and I'll put that back up, I promise. I just need to get this up. But for the time being, just reflect. What are some changes that you can make for yourself, that you would like to make for yourself? Okay, sorry, having issues here. Okay, there we go. So we'll just take a couple of minutes on this. Just a few minutes. take another minute. And if you are done with this reflection, I'm going to invite you to make up just a goal for yourself. Oh, thank you for sending this. Oh, yes, thank you for writing the interpretation. So a goal maybe that you can make once a day or something, but make the goal really short, less than 10 minutes. So it could be that, you know, I'm going to breathe deeply at least once during the day, right? But something that is connected to, that is smart, right? Specific, measurable, but measurable would be good if you have time. Sorry. Okay, and last 10 seconds. Just wrapping up your last thoughts. And I'm getting a lot of questions about this song. This is Manuk, the band. They're from Colombia, I think. And the song is called Madre de Luz, and I put it in the chat as well. So thank you, everyone. Okay, we're gonna have about 5 minutes to get back into the same groups that we were in. And just share, hold on for 1 second, let me go back to what we're gonna share about in the breakout rooms. Share about, again, use gallery view and everyone unmute, preferably put yourself on camera. Again, one person volunteers to go and then invites the next person. And you're just going to share about the area of your life where you'd like to better care for yourself. And then share the one thing that you're going to do, that you're willing to do, or how you are willing to be in order to shift that. Okay, so I'm going to put this in the chat so that you do not have to memorize it. It's pretty easy though, I hope. And okay, sorry, lots of, okay, here we go. And then we will break you up into chat. Oh, looks like Victoria said no one was in my group. So please do join. It's gonna ask you, invite you to join. So please do join if you can, just to meet with other people and share what it is that you are gonna change. Okay, welcome back, everyone. So let's take one more stretch if we can. A micro break. Whatever stretch feels good to you and your body. I just want to say thank you so much for having me here today. I'm going to stay. I know that we're running late, so I want to. I'll stay in this room for another few minutes after we officially break. So if you have any questions that you would like to have answered by me, I would love to answer those. So I also had a question in the chat that yes, cortisol can be cleared from the bloodstream after 1 minute of deep breathing. It doesn't even have to be fancy, like we were doing the fancy, making the exhalation longer, but just deep, slow breathing will help to clear the bloodstream completely of cortisol within 1 minute. There's a study on that. So it's been a great pleasure to be here with all of you. I can't, again, commend you enough and honor you enough, and of all of the love and caring that you have done, that you continue to do for your clients, for your cooperatives, for your families. I just bow to all of you and give thanks for all of your hard work and your love and commitment. And I'll see you all soon. And thank you for being here. And yeah, and I'll stay behind again, and I'll turn it over to Katrina now if she has any last words.
Thank you so much. If anybody does have any questions, feel free to pop them in right now. Otherwise, I just want to really thank you for this time. I hope everybody enjoyed just taking a moment to recenter and take care of yourself. I know I feel much more relaxed than I normally do. It's been a crazy, crazy year, and life is always crazy. So it's really important that we stop and take care of ourselves. So thank you so much, and for being with us. And I hope we'll see you again soon for some more healing work and self-care.